chair, I would like to ask you all to join me in silencing your phones, and also that to advise that this meeting is being recorded for the Town of Culver YouTube channel. Your participation in this meeting is your consent to be broadcast along with all the rest of us. So let's start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you do the roll call for us?
Sure. Sarah Jones. Marty Oosterbaan.
Here.
Sally. Jerry Sara. We also have our town manager and clerk present.
The first order of business is the hotel project feasibility, and
Nope.
lead us through that discussion. I has suffered some flight delays and is unable to join us. So we have to figure out what to do about that. We can reschedule Jessica for our next meeting, but that puts us back another 30 days in determining what, if any, incentive we want to provide for the project, which can't really solidify any investor commitments without knowing kind of where we're coming from. Or do you want to schedule a special discussion with Jessica sometime between now and when our next meeting would be held? Of course, you know,
I won't be at the next meeting, so if we could schedule something, I'll be out of town starting on the, oh wait, no, I will be here. I leave the next day.
okay,
So. Good with whatever.
okay.
Open to either idea.
Same here.
We'd have to do it as a work session if it's a special meeting.
Well, let's try. You know, the road to heck is paved with good intentions. Last time we tried to do a special meeting, no one could make it before the next meeting date. Anyway, why don't I give it a shot?
Okay.
I'll check the availabilities and I'll check Jessica's and we'll see if I can do a work session.
I would, if you don't mind.
Please.
We did meet with the co-owner of Cobblestone.
Oh.
Yeah, and Chris Hart was here. We had some potential investors from Ted Foster and Mike Rudnick had brought in some people. One of the things that became apparent when they were having conversation was they want to look at that pro forma really carefully and understand the numbers, but the incentive seemed to be a big deal. That was something that if it is going to be able to survive or go, the incentive is going to be an intricate part of that decision making. So they've been on spring break with their kids this week, and so I haven't been able to follow up much with them, but they felt positive.
When you say them, you mean the potential.
I'm sorry.
Investors?
Yeah. I apologize, Marty. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been able to follow up with potential investors to have a meaningful conversation. I did stick around a little bit at the end. They asked some really great questions also that I had not considered. Obviously, they have a perspective that is way more informed than mine. So I took some notes while I was listening to them. So
You said one of those individuals is actually in the industry.
that's correct. Absolutely. This is what he does. And the other one is very familiar. He does the more of a leasing renting model for the company, but they're both experts in it. So it was good to hear. But
On the model itself that Cobblestone works with, is that common model or?
they felt that it was a common model for what they're trying to attempt and what they're doing for a smaller market. That there were some reservations, but they weren't necessarily a deal breaker if you want to see it that way, but there were some reservations that required them some more time to study the numbers and to kind of dive a little deeper into the numbers. They asked some really good questions though. The model is solid for what they do. It's sustainable, but they're sustainable based upon the numbers they provide, and that's why they wanted to go in and take a look at that performance. That's so far. I'm really hesitant to answer any more than that because I haven't had a chance to talk with them.
Well, so we heard from the developer that said the incentives are critical. Now you've heard from investors that says incentives are critical. So,
Yeah.
so it's an important conversation that we have to have. Okay, good. Good. Thanks. Anything else?
No, sir. No, just want to share that.
Any questions? All right. Try to be as transparent as we can about the projects. All right, cool. Great. Next thing, approval of the minutes. Now, we're getting backed up a little bit, but we can catch up somewhat tonight. So the December 18th minutes are still in
Yeah.
progress.
Karen gave me a script, and then oddly, when I play it, I tried it on my BS computer. Parts of it are much more audible. It's kind of bizarre. On my personal laptop, it comes out as gibberish. And like Karen's voice is not even there at all. But now I'm getting bits and pieces, so I gotta cobble it together. It'll take longer than normal, and I thought I'd get 2 or 3 hours today, and I just didn't.
Okay.
So, but we'll have it in time for your next one.
Okay. You can take it as far as you can and shoot it to me and I'll fill in blanks if I can.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to have a couple people read the draft before, just to make sure. And ironically, I could see that I had an exact book like this. So I opened every single one of the ones I own, including the ones I give away as marketing. I don't have my, but granted, we did pack up a condo and move, so I'm certain it's in a box. But between what Karen gave me and what I could hear on a different machine, I should be able to get it put together without problem. And thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
It's actually pretty accurate transcript stuff. It doesn't always show who, but it's pretty spot on.
Is that AI transcript?
Yeah, it's actually Teams.
Yeah.
Added transcript feature. So, and it just became available. It's just started popping up in the last couple months.
Oh, that's
We use it at work and I was like, oh, Karen got it, don't worry.
wonderful. Well, we do have minutes though to approve for January. We had 2 meetings. We had a work session on the 13th and we had a regular meeting on the 15th. Ginny did circulate those for review. Are there any comments, amendments for Ginny? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve. We can do them both together. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so moved by Ms. Ricciardi, seconded by Ms. Jones. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've got minutes. Let's take a look at the financial report for January and February. You'll recall that we ended December with a total balance of, I think it was 1,000,005 and 15, I think was the number, and we have revenues of some 3,500 and expenses of some 71,000 in the 2 months. The expenses for January were the $30,000 bond payment and the $25,000 commitment we made to the Wild Rose Moon, and then an expense for February, which was the commitment that we made to the Visitor Center in the amount of $6,702.63. So our balance now at the end of February is now 1,539,049 and Are there any questions for Karen?
Is that before the Culver Youth League, the 20,000?
We have not,
Since we haven't paid
we
that.
have not paid it. So I tried to gather all the commitments that you had just to kind of keep track of what's coming up.
Thank you for your work on the TIF report so far. If they could make it more complicated, they probably would, right?
Yeah. Fortunately, you can't look at the previous years. So I did, just so that you know, the stapled packets that I distributed is the information that I've gathered for the TIP, annual TIP management report, which is due April 15th. It asked for expenses, income, balances or fund balances, which essentially you have the tip 1 and tip 2, which are combined into one fund. And then it also asks for the listing of the parcels. I'll get that information from the county auditor. I also included the information on the Dunes project. And I didn't know if there was any, there are a couple of opportunities to include some notes. If there's anything that you want to explain or, clarify for anybody looking at that report. So if there is something that you want me to add, just let me know before, in the next week or two.
Sure.
And then if you could just kind of look over what I provided and, just kind of basically say, yes, this looks accurate. And then I'll just wait until probably April 12th and maybe send out an email and just say, hey, I'm getting ready to submit any changes. Because this will be the last meeting before I need
Right.
to submit it. So,
Would I sign that, and do we need a authorization for me to sign?
you don't sign it. It's something that I just submit and I put use a pin. So my name goes on it.
Okay,
But
we
just,
need to authorize you to do it.
you may authorize me to do it. But I don't necessarily want you to do that before you've looked at it. So you can authorize me after the fact. Just as long as I know that you guys have looked over the numbers and are comfortable with what I'm submitting. But I will say I'm a little ahead of schedule this year as opposed to previous years. So,
Thank you.
About the time you get used to the form, they change the form.
and they're gonna probably add 3 more reports
Yeah.
between, now and next year. So, which they already added the last session, not necessarily for redevelopment, but other areas.
Yeah, this looks pretty spot on, Karen. When I
But then-
anyway.
Yeah, but that also gives you a little more detail just as
Yeah.
far as where
It's
things are.
nice to see the list of the expenses too, like. Cause you forget from quarter to quarter, claims to claims, et cetera. So it is kind of nice to see one like endless list there. I like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the, my district.
Yeah.
That was
Oh.
in the back.
That's actually provided by the auditor's office. And so you can kind of see where we're at. But it's also got the other TIF districts in the county.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's nice. Thank you.
And if there's any other information that you want to see, just let me know and I can cobble it together for you.
Or your spare time?
Evenings and weekends,
More than you know.
No,
this used to have.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen. Any other questions for Karen on the financial reports? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the January and February financial reports as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve January and February financial reports.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
A second.
All right. So again, moved by Ms. Ricciardi, seconded by Ms. Jones. All in favor of approving the financial reports for January and February as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've got financial reports. Let's go to old business, Main Street renovation project, project team organization. Can I look to you, Kevin, for some help on this? And I'll chime in, and Liz, if you want to chime in.
I'm here to look for you.
well then. We are eagerly awaiting April. And the presentation by Downtown Strategies, Retail Strategies. I have a feeling that I haven't been able, that they're not tipping their cards. I've tried already twice to kind of ask a little bit, but they kind of, like my parents at Christmas said, wait to see. One of the things that getting choked up. One of the things for a lack of a better term, that I think is going to be important moving forward, especially by the time retail strategies get here, is to have a good membership of people attending that meeting. Because out of that meeting, I think we stand a chance of reorganization as a community for the next 3 years with the action plan. I think this project is going to, and it's built into the project as well, that they come in and they look at your organizational structure, they look at your supporting groups, both public and private, and I'm very eager to hear what they have to say. There is a wealth of talent around the lake, inside our business community, and just over at the academy and at the community school. Getting those voices, not so much together to say, what do you think Culver is? But rather have somebody say, here's a strategy, here's a plan, go make it work. I think one of the issues in the past, and I can't speak to the past as much, but I've kind of ascertained the last couple years that one of the hardest parts for us was developing a cohesive strategy that actually had action steps, not just verbal communication where ideas were shared, put into a book, and for lack of better, either resources or organization couldn't come to life. I'm incredibly hopeful that that isn't the case this time. I'm confident, but one of the things that is apparent as we move into this meeting in April is the existing structures aren't quite there yet. And we have got to seize this opportunity of this consultant coming in to reorganize that, reinvent it. It may mean a whole new organization, right? And I'm eager to hear their opinion on that. But I am confident that we'll be okay because I've already seen the people.
Existing structure, do you mean like a local planning team? Chamber, or are we talking about various organizations or one more cohesive group?
That's what I want to ask them, actually, Jenny. My feeling is I think we need a centralized group. I think we need to bring together the remnants of other organizations and put them under one direction. When we get an action plan, having a centralized body that's in communication with one another is, I think, will lead to better results, right? And not to be crass about this, but there is an efficiency to dictatorship, centralized, right? When you're trying to get something done, but that doesn't mean you're ignoring the voices. The voices just need to be organized into one unit and not be competing or to have different targets and different resources. That makes sense. And, but again, that's my opinion. I want to hear what they have to say. Yeah.
Stellar. Any plan, really, you have to have a group of stakeholders and people representing various sectors of your community coming to that table. I think where we suffered with both Stellar and even when we did regional Stellar, we formed the Culver Crossroads team along with Marshall County Crossroads team. It was very effective for this intense period of activity. So, Stellar was a very intense activity for the town for 2-3 years, and then you got to implement it, and it becomes intense for your people and your clerk, essentially. And then regional Stellar came along, and you had this intense activity with a very large organized group. I think we were more like 100 on the regional side versus locally, we were like 25-30 people that kind of gathered around that. And then it was kind of like once it's done, it was done and it lost steam. Or you remove a couple of people from that process and it completely, our goal was really to make Culver Crossroads a sustainable planning team because it did gather every sector that we could. Where we struggled even then though, even though we had 20-30 people show up consistently on and off, we have certain sectors that just don't, it was like pulling teeth. We tried to get a realtor to join the group, for example, local area business. And they're running businesses, so they're wearing that hat on top of being involved in other organizations. So asking people to do a new thing was tough. But it's not like we haven't done it before. It's just we're always targeting a carrot. Stellar was a great carrot because it came with a lot of money. Regional Stellar was a great carrot, came with a lot of money. Now we're targeting a plan, downtown Culver, right? Or Main Street project. To me, it has to be more sustainable than one thing. It has to be, we want future planning to come out of it. Which we thought Culver Crossroads would be that. But you almost have to have carrots. Or I don't know, something that people get excited about or motivated to participate in. And in Culver, you can participate in 30 different nonprofits that we're all sort of tugged to participate in, and you get the burnout because it's the same people participating. I mean, the people on Culver Crossroads were often on visitor center, chamber, like same people.
Yeah.
And people like me who ran with those carrots for 10 years got tired. And I'm not trying to be the pitfall negative voice. It's just, how do you incentivize people to come back together and organize around activity? Or the purpose has to be clear and it has to be worth it to all these people.
I think it goes back to the point on this is something that I want their guidance on. How do you transfer from a plan or a project over to an organization that is evergreen, that's going to sustain and drive itself? The strategy and the action has to be put in front of us, but it also has to be able to be in such a way that an organization is going to be able to take that over and project it for future projects and understand what that strategy means in terms of 5-10 year development down the line. And there is some guidance with the comprehensive plan, obviously, and some different resources. Back to your point about the same people attending 15 different meetings, that might be, I hadn't even, until you said that, I'm like, well, let's make it one-stop shopping. If we got the same 15 people going to 15 different locations, what's the harm in saying we're going to have one organization, you get one meeting, and we may actually be able to rally greater numbers to that organization.
I think we also have to consider, and Marty knows where I'm going with this, because we have to consider if we're gonna try to organize a planning team. And one MC has this issue. You have to invest some dollars into paying somebody, because otherwise it's a group of volunteers who get burned out.
Mhm.
Or are already burned out, or whatever the case is. And maybe that means we are merging a couple of organizations. One is new, kind of what happened with 1MC, it evolved into something else. And maybe it's part visitor center, part old chamber that once existed. Like maybe it is a merging of some organizations, and I don't know the answer to that.
You're taking my point number
Yeah.
2. Sorry.
Yeah.
I gave Kevin an outline of a project manager role.
Yeah.
That I had vetted with the town attorney, that would allow us to pay for the project management of the Main Street renovation project, as well as potentially other projects that we may invest in, like the park, for example.
And
I've given,
sorry.
Tankersley had some great advice about how to structure it. How to make sure it had a shelf life, so there wasn't an ongoing commitment. And so I put that on Kevin's desk and said, you may want to fill this out with town money to help round this project manager roll out into something that could oversee, visitor center. Or
That's one of the benefits. I'm sorry, Marty.
So that's where I think I'm in violent agreement with you on that. And I think we've got a mechanism where we can support that, a portion of that work.
I mean, it could be part economic development director, local.
Absolutely, because I think in so many ways, linking having an individual that can link both our visitor and tourism and marketing back to the local economy and coordinate that with shop owners and people on the ground is essential. And you can't ask somebody who's trying to run a business to do that. It's very difficult. And you have some wonderful people that I was very happy to see the visitor center come in last week and with the reorganization restructured. But these are people who are busy trying to implement and drive things and may not have the time for a strategy. Being able to have somebody to be able to provide that strategy and coordinate it economically, I think is key.
Us. Center,
Absolutely.
renovation projects. So I think it's an idea worth investing in,
Yeah.
but that'll be up to us. But right now, I think we want to see what the eventual scope, will be in conjunction with the.
Yeah,
town
maybe
council.
part of this process gets us to a different answer than what we've been in the past. I mean, Crossroads was very collaborative. We got a lot done. We got the carrot. Won the carrot, we won the next carrot. There's 3 other carrots probably sitting out there at some point. But to sustain that focus, it has to be somebody's job to do it.
Mhm.
It can't always be yet another board, another set of people.
The good thing is that I think I'm confident because retail has done this. Mount Olive was a good example of that. They did it with pickles. We've got a lake. Karen and I are also going to go around next week with our wagon with flying and start getting with shop owners and people and just, we've advertised it, it's out there, but we want to really make a push in the next week right before
Right,
the meeting.
so it's April 1st
Mhm.
and we need to, so no Main Street renovation has ever been successful without a combination of the private businesses, the municipality and philanthropy. Those 3 things have to be going. So your team, whoever the leader is, and I think you need some paid leadership, has to bring those 3 elements together. And typically the renovations start with town money and philanthropy money. It's the private investments that follow. Once they see that the town is making an investment, the private money generally follows.
I had it, and I know he won't mind me sharing this because he said he doesn't mind me sharing this, but I had a conversation with Chris Reed about the corner property and some questions on the building and design, but he absolutely bled into that conversation. He wants to be part of it, he said, and he said, I'll give you face. He wants not just money, but be part of a committee, a voice inside of that. And he said, if I can't be there in person, I'll be there online. But he was animate about it. And that was an encouraging conversation. He said, there's many of them out there. Yes.
Well, yeah,
One of the goals is to eventually end up with a activated
Yes.
committee.
yes,
Yes.
but the purpose for April 1st is to get public engagement.
Yeah.
For particularly the retail businesses on Main Street
Mhm.
and the stakeholders on Main Street. And so
Makes sense.
that's one of the 3 that would form the coalition that would be behind this, but it's the most important at this stage. We have to have representation from the stakeholders for this plan when it is finalized in the summer to be maximized, right? To be the best plan it can. So we have to go knocking door to door. We have to get everybody there. I hope that the Main Street organization could be the organization that could help us bring that out, but they're just not ready to help. And there is another group I understand got together, which is great.
Tammy
They've got-
Tammy Schaefer, and I want to thank her.
So
publicly.
they may have, they may be consolidating some ideas to bring forth, which would be great. But there's property owners, that may have something to say. We want to make sure that, we get their voices into this plan as well.
Academy as well.
Where's the
Everybody.
meeting?
Library. Yeah, sorry.
Noon, I think it's noon on April 1st.
Not the most ideal, but that's the time we were given.
What's more ideal?
I don't know, but I've
Tell
heard
me
it.
what's more ideal.
Let me rephrase that then, Marty. I've had a few people voice concern. Is that the only time we could have the meeting? Yes. The answer is yes.
It could be roughly for business centers.
That's
typically.
right.
I mean, are they
The
open
very
to?
stakeholders you want there are operating the business.
And they don't eat lunch. They can't walk a block
How long are we
and
talking
spend an
about?
hour that would normally be their lunch hour to give input. That
Come on
doesn't
now.
seem like a big lift.
Come on down. We got you.
You know,
It's not for me. But there's other people that probably feel some.
that no one can watch the store for an hour on a Wednesday to provide
And we
input
get
a block
And
away.
we give them
I just don't have a lot
some
of,
support.
We'll get there.
I just don't. Not that I feel strongly about it, but I just, because if you do it at 5 o'clock and then people like Joe Fox, the library guy, and that's the end of his work.
Yeah.
He's usually gone by then, so.
And this was kind of, it wasn't like we weren't given a choice because they're logistically coming from far away. And so I had to do with what we had. And we'll record it, we'll get it out there. We'll do everything we can.
Monday, some of the businesses are closed, for example, like maybe they come back.
They'll be
If they're
back.
not
This is the
giving us a
kickoff.
choice, then
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we have that in too.
Sure, absolutely.
And if they have a specific format that rolls out during that meeting, some who couldn't attend could still have an opportunity somewhere.
This is a
That would be
kickoff. This is the kickoff. There'll be multiple opportunities. But we will, if not so by them, it will be by us. And we will harvest, get around and collect that information and play the communicator, which we've done in the past. And, all right,
I'll call down.
tap out, Marty.
I
I
just
know,
want.
I totally get it,
I
because I'm
just,
a working person
I-
and that's tough for me to
I'm,
make it.
look, I'm Dutch, I'm cheap, I want to maximize our investment here. That's- Okay.
I didn't know that.
Façade grant request, 107 Main Street.
There we go.
I think everybody should proceed. It's got, 7. What's the business thing is so. Seems like the bids are all close to the same.
It's roof work, right?
Yeah, it's roof work and brick work. Sodom, from the building. And
This is the surf rope one, right?
And so anyway, the lowest bid on the roofing itself was at 40,000. There's another bid, 47,705. But we accepted the lowest bid. Reimbursed from theirs for the 50%. And then the masonry is Liliana masonry at 19,000. And precision masonry at 26,990. Last time I took math, 19,000 was less. So if you figure those two at 50%, it comes to a total of 29,500. So,
Just under the max.
yeah, just under the max. But it does seem like there's a lot of work to be done. About removing almost 4 layers of roofing. So wonder it hasn't caved in.
You're comfortable that it fits within the
I
requirements?
believe so.
Both those jobs are pretty facade-like.
Yeah.
Of course, we added roofs to the list.
Yeah, we added
Yeah.
rust to the list several years ago, because that cost as much. This is major job as having the brickwork on the building.
Any questions for Sally? On the grant?
I would make the motion to approve the facade grant for 107 South Main Street in the amount of $29,500.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the cyber 107 Main Street for 29,500. Ms. Munroe, seconded by Ms. Jones. Any further discussion? Not, call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, cyber grant is approved. Town manager update.
All right. We've already covered the Main Street, but just to reiterate, I do want to approach the town and have a conversation about the manager's position. We do have a solid job description put together, and I do think there's benefit in the co-funding of this position, both by the town and by redevelopment. It just broadens the scope and allows a better support network for various entities. We've already mentioned them, Visitor and Park, but that was on my mind, and just working through that. And I'm also trying to articulate what that support looks like, not just to say, well, they can support the visitor center. I want to be more specific there. But there is a great opportunity there. I'm very encouraged. I've read through the 5 different submittals, RFQs for wastewater. I'm confident in saying all 5 of them bring something to the table that make them appealing. How that will be scored out next week will be interesting. We started our first interviews on Monday. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Sally, for being there. Bill as well, Karen. We heard 3 great companies. We've got 2 more tomorrow, and I look forward to them. It will be a difficult decision, I think. A couple things that I want to emphasize. Communication is key for us with somebody our size, and having that constant communication in the design, in the construction, and especially post-operational. Having somebody who's going to be on the phone here for us when we turn the keys over to Ben, and helping him go through what is always a little bit of kinks in a new system. And that is something I'm waiting heavy as I listen to them. The second thing is, because Karen is sitting next to me, cost. Tell me cost benefit. Tell me how you make your decision making. We do not need caviar all the time, right? How do you make the determination in terms of equipment? How much is enough? How much is not? The third thing I want to make sure is to build into the capacity. I want to hear their ideas about how they're going to make sure that the next capacity build that we have is sitting there waiting in terms of piping, in terms of plumbing. I want a simple upgrade process that's not going to hit the town in the eyes in 10 years or 15 years, because the idea is growth, right? Reasonable development. And I want to have that in place. And so those are the 3 areas that I think I want to make sure we go into scoring and thinking about. And I think it's beneficial. And that's, by the way, I'm not giving anything away. That was in the RFQ. That has been in the interviews. Everybody knows that's where the town of Culver's sitting. And all 3 of the interviewers on Monday did a great job talking about that. Moving forward, I'm excited. We are putting together an application, and with a bit of guidance from Marty, quite a bit, but we have an opportunity with Ready 2 and the Arts and Culture grant provided by Lilly Monies to start to do a plan for Lakeshore Drive, the park, and the theater. Turning that into an arts and cultural venue. We're not moving directly into the project, but something that intricate needs to have plans and design ready to go. This conversation, I think, has to start soon. If we're even looking at it for a next year or 2 project, we already know that the theater through MPAT is on its way and proceeding to a tear down and a rebuild. They will be approaching the town on Thursday to discuss a possible expansion to the west. We do know that that theater is going to need a field to grow in. Having that ready to go and coordinating it with the theater, I think, is essential. And we have an opportunity with the Lilly money to get the design and plans. Those design and plans could be leveraged for future grant applications. And that is so key. If we have those on the shelf when the next batch comes up, we're not scrambling to get in. And so often is the case. Indiana has a wonderful way of saying, knock, knock, guess what? There's grants. and we don't have the time to prepare. I don't want to get in that position. So I think we've also had some conversations. We received quite a few input from the summer crowd, and having traffic and pedestrians up there is a concern. And it has been. Realigning the parking and the traffic flow in there is essential. Expanding green space, understanding how our park is being used, and Crystal has been wonderful about that. We're getting more family usage. How can we expand, not necessarily an ice rink, but how do we make that more user friendly for somebody to sit there and have a cup of coffee and look at that beautiful lake with a nice gas fire going, right? Not that I'm suggesting that's it. How do we coordinate with the Lions Club? How can we help them expand maybe and think about what they do in the summer? We have a farmer's market there. How can we help the farmer's market and make that drive more people? We want pedestrian traffic. How do we take this and coordinate it with our Main Street development and our project there and make that curve turn? We have a path right there. How can we use that path to draw people down in that corridor? I think it's interesting, but I think it begins with coordinating. We're working with Kurt Neubauer, and Kurt submitted some things yesterday. They are much further along than I had known. I haven't been doing a good job of keeping up with communication. And I look forward to that meeting next week on Thursday. I'd like him to talk to the council directly because we just haven't had that level of communication yet. I think he's starting to get in that place internally. So we'll have that conversation. I need to do a little bit, and I wanted to ask permission, not forgiveness on this one, but I do want to get out to Calf Park. We have 100 trees being planted in April. I'm very excited about it, and I would like to take a look at putting a well in out there. I didn't want to start receiving any quotes or bids before I talk to redevelopment. I would knock on your door for that one. That is something I think is going to be valuable for the expansion of that park and keeping those trees and more importantly, the sporting fields. It needs an irrigation system. I'm not talking in the ground, above ground irrigation. It's a wonderful thing to see how many kids are down there playing soccer in the summer. It gets used quite a bit. There's some other things. There might even be some opportunity to encourage private investment down there or donations. But I am going to get some, before I come knock on your door for permission to get some quotes, I'm going to try to get some estimates and some things so you guys understand what I'm looking for. Fair? Other than that, I'm really excited about Main Street. I'm really excited that spring's here because we've got some projects. Update on the water plant that was, it's going to be completed in April. I'm being told end of April, we'll have all the work down there completed. So, and the dunes, by the way, is just wonderful. I've met a few families out there already, and it's attracting. A friend of mine from Rensselaer came up for the park department meeting. She runs Rensselaer's Park. They're coming here in 4 years. We drove out to the dunes, and she said, my friend loves to fish and golf, and he said, I want to retire in Culver. And that's what he's looking at. Unfortunately, his 4 daughters that would have attracted about 10 football players to move here are all college graduated. And so, but it's a good thing, I think. So that's my update for tonight. It's regional.
So regional, we really would like your input on this, Jenny, when it comes together. The thinking was the theater was going to be putting in an app, and Kevin had been thinking about the park renovations as being.
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
You look at that street and, it needs traffic calming. It's way too wide. Right?
And we got utilities
got
underneath.
parking, and then the utilities where, we need to make the supply pipe bigger. And it just kind of occurred to me that maybe we ought to see if packaging them made sense or could create a more compelling case, right? Something bigger.
We have I'm sorry, Marty, we have preservation of the park on the pavilions, the beach lodge, and those wonderful World Fair lamps out there that need to be done and can be done. I've got an estimate.
It's kind of like you're trying to
Electrical.
solve a multitude of things we've identified down there over the last year or two. ADA.
Right.
We've been talking about bathrooms on the west end of that place for
Exactly.
20 years. I think.
Bathrooms,
And if I'm going to crack the egg,
the pavilions are crumbling.
Yeah.
Well, it does.
But there's other communities within Marshall, or is it South Bend Elkhart region?
It is
application?
the 3 county.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like the first round already.
Yes.
It
But
is.
This is
It
arts
is.
and culture focused.
It is, and it doesn't have all the, not quite as few moving parts on it, so.
There's 62 million, I think, is the Lilly dollars that are available statewide, and there's 12 regions. And the projects will get submitted to the partnership and the South Bend Elkhart Partnership, and then they will go down to the IEDC for final approval. And the Indiana Arts Commission is
One of the
providing input
Major
into that
stores.
as well.
They were with Stellar too.
The community foundation has set aside at least 350,000 to be supportive of these grants as they go to the regional commission. So, and they've got as much as $500,000.
So that's that March
To
30,
provide supporting dollars to those applications. So,
March 31st is the deadline for that.
yeah, what the community foundation is suggesting is that they put the Ready app on their website and have it filled out there by April 1st. And then the community foundation will make its decision by April 7th. And so you'll still have another week before the deadline to incorporate the community
Okay, so
foundation.
that's where the vetting
That's right.
in our region comes
That's right.
from.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
I was trying to figure out, because the last time one MC, when it was Crossroads, did some vetting and help, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think this is so essential though, because going into this project without the plan and design, you will bleed financially, and the timing of this has to be tight. You are cracking, I mean, that is a heavily populated, busy area. And you do not want that thing to drag out when we get it done.
My other question, I guess, then is, are they expecting support letters, that sort of thing?
They are. One marshal's gonna provide a supporting letter, kind of a blanket letter. But I've talked to a few individuals. I think we can get a couple more, definitely supporting letters. I want to try to get, probably gonna start knocking on the door next week to get some letters put together.
It'd be nice if there's-
I would,
We
We
could
should do one.
technically redevelopment.
Yep.
I would love,
Council.
Jenny, if you could provide some guidance, I'll reach out to you. But you've done this,
Yeah.
and I would like to be able
And
to draw on
sometimes
that
it's easier
experience.
to just give-
Sure.
Or- I'm happy to do one for CRC. If we want one for CRC, and if the council approves one, we could do one.
Okay.
For the council.
Okay.
I mean, I just remember that whole ready process, the first one, around and going in Karen's office and crying every now and then. Just uploading the files was a headache, from what I remember. It's probably a little better by now.
Yeah, this is,
Do you feel the need to cry? She's been there, done it.
okay. Not really a big crier, Jenny, but I mean, I'm much more the kind of the Eeyore. Oh, well, I guess nothing's gonna work.
On that happy note, is there anything else?
No, sir, I think we've checked a lot of boxes.
Okay, let's move along. Any other thoughts on that, Jerry, Nelly?
Nope.
Sure.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. Public input. Anybody online?
No.
Okay. Then let's move along to member input, and we'll start on my left this time.
I have nothing. Go talks, they're done.
By me,
I don't have anything.
Jane,
No.
Jerry. Okay,
Don't be so shocked.
Mr. Clevenger, anything for the
I have nothing.
gathered? Karen?
May I ask you to approve claims?
Oh, yeah.
How did
We only had the one little claim.
There's just one claim,
little
but you also
claim.
need to vote to approve claims from last month as well, so.
Oh,
And just to let you know, there are 3 sets of claims to, 3 claim sheets to fill, to sign. Because it didn't get done in January either.
claims, I reviewed them in her email.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think I covered them
Yes.
when we were going over the financial
Just
report. I
forgot.
just
Yeah.
had to ask for the motion, so.
Whoops.
Moved by Ginny and seconded by
I'll second.
Sarah. Thank you. All in
Queen
favor?
seconding.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, you are. Any opposed? Okay. Claims are
Thank you.
approved. Thank you, Karen.
Whoops, sorry. about that.
With that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Make motion.
Sally,
I'll second it.
the chair seconds. Sarah seconds. You got on, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.